Twoje miejsce docelowe jest właśnie tutaj. Typowy kierowca autobusu. Jesteś na miejscu. Zapraszam do oglądania. Jarosław Juszkiewicz.
not too busy on these roads.
No, it's not. Bye Norway. Hello Sweden. No time for whatever. Don't you worry, don't you worry. Okay, I'm pausing the other, but do not worry, there will be plenty more over the next couple of days. So, Sweden, guys. What can I tell you about Sweden? Here's the flag. This is she. Blue and yellow. Basically, you'll notice that all the Nordic flags are very, very similar, pretty much identical, and they kind of joke between like who got it first, who copied who. We all know the answer is Denmark. Denmark is the oldest flag. Everyone copied Denmark. But lo and behold, that is the flag of Sweden. And Sweden is kind of synonymous with blonde hair, blue-eyed beauties, cheap furniture, delicious meatballs. So what's not to love? And this is she. So I've put a couple of maps up there just to sort of give you an idea of Sweden, like the shape, kind of like a big finger. It makes up most of the Scandinavian peninsula. So it is the largest and most populous Scandinavian country by far. Okay, so over 10 million people living in Sweden. That's like double the population of Norway, double the population of Denmark. And it's around 450,000 square kilometers. So it's a little bit bigger than the state of California. About 900 miles in length, about twice the size of the UK if you want to compare. And yeah, it's essentially like the finger that's sort of sandwiched in between Norway and then Finland just up here at the top. And then it's separated by the rest of like Europe with two main bodies of water. You've got the Scandinavia body of water here just north of Denmark, the North Sea, and then of course the Baltic Sea just off to the right. And then essentially there's kind of three main parts of Sweden. There's obviously various counties. Dalarna County, which you can guys just see there. That's where we're heading to at the moment, or where we're just coming into. So this is essentially one of the largest ones, and you can see it pretty much marks most of the width of Sweden. Essentially, when we're driving to Stockholm in a few days' time, we're basically travelling through Dalarna all for like the first 3/4 of the journey until we get to the outer limits of Stockholm. So it's huge. And then yeah, of course, Stockholm located up here in the east. This kind of marks the point between the Baltic Sea and Lake Mälaren. The lake kind of meets the Baltic Sea here in Stockholm. And then the other major cities you've got, remember going past Gothenburg a few days ago. That's located up here along the way towards Norway. You've then got Malmö at the bottom corner just next to Copenhagen, and then Uppsala, which is just north of Stockholm. So most of the population is kind of concentrated in the southern portion of the country. As you go further north, it gets more sparsely populated, and the scenery gets a bit more spectacular, a bit more sort of barren, if you like, as well. So basically the Arctic Circle is about here, so anything north of that is pretty much the Arctic tundra. It's also where you've got the Scandinavian mountains. This is the natural border, like I mentioned, between Norway and Sweden, and it's up here that you'll actually find Sweden's highest peak. It's called Kebnekaise, right up here in the north, and it's actually two peaks. One of them had a glacier on the top of them, the southern one, so it was actually like slightly taller than the northern one. Then over time, that glacier has shrunk because of climate change, so it's not as tall as it used to be. But that is Kebnekaise up at the top. And then I talked about the sort of the different landscapes of Scandinavia. This is just a few little landscapes around Sweden. So you've got Stockholm here. It's kind of considered the Venice of the north, if you like, because there's lots of islands. Okay, so there's lots of islands here in Sweden. Here's a few of them here. This is actually the greatest Stockholm archipelago. It's about 24,000 just in that one area alone, so pretty huge. And then obviously as you go into the rural parts of Sweden, you get these beautiful, like nice picturesque coloured houses next to all the forests. And I think the guides on the cruise yesterday were mentioning about the different coloured houses here in Scandinavia and why they have that kind of that trend. So essentially, if you missed this, in the olden days, red was the kind of classic colour for a lot of these houses because it was the cheapest material to kind of get. There were lots of copper mines up here, so red was kind of like the off produce from these copper mines. So again, it was a kind of home that was considered, you know, mostly for the poorest people. So red was the typical home, and then back in those days, if you had a white painted house, that was like a status symbol. Like it meant you could afford the kind of the proper paints, etc., etc. And then, of course, over the 1800s, as writers and poets started like writing about these beautiful coloured homes, you know, the red colour kind of became romanticised, essentially. So then more and more people wanted to kind of have this red colour, and it didn't matter whether they were rich or poor. So over time, they lost the kind of distinguishing features, and so nowadays it's kind of, you have red houses, white houses, yellow, you name it. But that's a little bit of a nod to that story. And then, of course, during the winter months, guys, you get this beautiful phenomenon known as the aurora borealis. Like I said, it kind of we're just below the Arctic Circle at the moment, so it just has to be like the right conditions for us to see it. But yeah, especially in the northern territories around like Lapland, where they've got their own indigenous population, it's pretty much guaranteed most of the winter months. Now, I mentioned Sweden and the sort of landscapes that you can see, and the different landscapes of each of the Scandinavian or Nordic countries. So each one has kind of got their own unique kind of, I guess, like trait, if you like. So for Denmark, it's like the low-lying grassy farmland, the hills, no hills in Denmark, sorry. And then Norway is kind of like the fjords, the mountains, the lakes, the waterfalls. Finland is the Nordic country we're known for the lakes, lots of lakes in Finland. Iceland is essentially one just massive volcano. Sweden is a bit of everything. It's fair to say, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, even its very own volcano. Now you might be thinking, what the frig is that? This is a sand volcano, guys. Sweden is actually the only place in the world where they have an above water sand volcano. So most of these, apparently this is very common. Most of these are found like underwater, so this is the only place in the world where you can actually see it above ground. It's called the priest's bathtub because apparently there was a story or a legend about a priest that used to come and sit here and have a bath. Because essentially it's a spring, so every now and then like a little bit of water like shoots up and erupts a bit of sand. And yeah, it's on the southern coastline, so that's the priest's bathtub, the world's only sand volcano that you can see from above ground. Bit of everything in Sweden. Alrighty, Swedish economy. So again, own unique currency here. The Swedish crown works out about €1 is 11 Swedish crown. Why do they have all these own unique currencies here? It's a mixture of two reasons. One is just kind of their own national identity, and also because the currencies here in Scandinavia are very strong compared to the euro, it wouldn't really make much sense for them to adopt the euro. So that's why for now it's kind of sticking as it is. But like I said, for the most part, cash is just not a thing here. So you can pay with card everywhere you go, nice and easy. And then the main industries in Sweden. Sweden has kind of shifted very progressively from the 1960s, where it was quite industrialized, to a much more sort of post-industrial economy. So yeah, many kind of people working within the sort of tertiary sectors nowadays. Farming is still prevalent, but it's not really that common. It only makes up around like 8% of the sort of Swedish economy. So very, very small. Still major like timber and logging industries, and a lot of companies, for every tree they cut down, they have to replant another one as well as part of the process here to kind of keep the environment happy. And they recycle a lot in Sweden. In fact, they recycle so much they actually recycle more than Denmark and Norway combined, and Norway even sort of exports a lot of its recycling towards Sweden, so they can use that for energy consumption. So it's really, really cool. And I mentioned about farming as well. So here in the more rural communities, they do have actually like a really cute tradition every single year, the farms, and it's called the Koslap, which is basically the cow release, they call it. So this is when the cows have all been in the sort of stables basically for the winter months, and they're all sort of kept cooped up for the winter, keeping warm. And then on the first kind of official day of spring, the farmers invite all the locals around to come and just open the barn doors, and you can see the cows releasing and jumping. So I've got a short little video to play you. Apologies for the first 30 seconds, it's just people mooing. Teeter, but yeah, that is the Cool Slap. That just gives you a little idea about sort of Swedish society, culture. It's all about coming together as a sort of community. And then a few famous Swedish companies, so we've mentioned a couple of these already. Obviously IKEA, we don't need to cover that again. Spotify originated here back in 2006. Klarna, the idea of paying in installments. H&M, major fashion brand, found all over the world. Just don't wear it on a runway in front of RuPaul, if anyone gets that reference, we're best friends. Ericsson, who remembers the era of the Sony Ericsson flip phone? No, you're all too young. But yeah, they're also the guys who pioneered the Bluetooth technology for the first time as well. Absolute Vodka. Volvo, we talked a little bit about the other day when we were going past Gothenburg. But a funny story about Volvo, Sweden actually sold all of Volvos to North Korea back in the 60s. And they've been asking for the money for them ever since. Obviously North Korea has gone into its little hermit state, and they've taken the Volvos and said thank you very much. And Sweden keeps on politely reminding them every year, actually guys, you owe us a bit of money for these Volvos, and it's going up every single year, but North Korea is just like... So will they ever get that money for the Volvos? Probably not. King, who remembers Candy Crush? Or is anyone still playing Candy Crush? Yeah, that bastard game that started in Sweden. Also a few other games, Minecraft, and there's some is it Battlefield? I can't remember. There's another one. I'm not a gamer, so someone can correct me. But they all have Swedish origin. Saab, and then also Fjällräven as well. Anyone got a Fjällräven backpack? They're all cute little colourful backpacks. Yeah, that's another famous Swedish brand. And then I can't come to Sweden without talking about the Swedish royal family. So they have their own monarchy as well. I know, right? They're a pretty good looking bunch. The two main ones you need to focus on are King Carl Gustaf and his wife Sylvia. So they're on the throne at the moment. But I've just put a picture of this guy. This is Carl Philipp, Prince Carl Philipp. Just do yourself a favour, just Google pictures and you can be entertained for the rest of the journey. He's a pretty beautiful man. And the Swedish royal family, they're actually the one royal family in Scandinavia that have kind of come into a bit of controversy here and there. It's the media like to sort of follow what the royal family are doing quite closely. And there's been a few little scandals here and there, including sort of affairs and sort of behind the scenes going on. So it's a bit unnormal for a Scandi royal family. However, for the most part, they are pretty well received, and I think as a result of this, they've even taken further step backs to sort of their responsibilities and their kind of role in terms of the running of the country, to try and like maintain that kind of, you know, we're all equal, we're all sort of the same as everyone else. But yeah, Prince Carl Philipp, just do yourselves a favour, Google him. I think he's got his own Instagram page as well. So. And then just a bit more about sort of tourism in Sweden. The first thing I want to mention is obviously hiking, the outdoors. The Swedish have a thing here called Allemansrätten, which is basically the right to roam. It's the same as Norway, so it's free basically to roam on any public land. You can camp anywhere or whatever, you can pick berries, mushrooms, forage and all that stuff. The whole idea is that you just respect the landscape and just don't leave any trace of yourself there afterwards. So yeah, that's the right to roam, Allemansrätten. It's also the name of the sauce that you put over meatballs, the gravy, Allemansrätten. Biggest tourist attraction in Stockholm is the ABBA Museum. Of course, you can't come to Sweden without talking about ABBA. Does anyone know what ABBA actually stands for? It's their names, yes. My last group had no idea, and they were mind blown. So yeah, Agneta, Benny, Bjorn, and Anna Frid make ABBA. I always wonder if they like thought about different names like Bab or Baba. But yeah, ABBA was what they settled on, so I'm assuming quite a few people are going to go to the ABBA Museum in Stockholm. It's really, really fun, super cheesy, but they've got loads of cool stuff in there to have a look at. And you can actually be a fifth ABBA member. They've got like holographics that you can stand on the stage and be like a fifth member of ABBA for a song. But yeah, super fun. If you are wanting to book that ahead of time, guys, I recommend booking any time from 10 o'clock. Essentially, I'm going to walk you guys into the city in the morning, and I'll take you guys on the tram. So like 9 o'clock, we'll be leaving the hotel. So by about 9:30, 9:45, you should be at the ABBA Museum. So 10 o'clock onwards, you guys can book that if you want to. Lots of castles in Sweden again. There's a different word in castle for in Swedish. So if you're thinking Slottis Castle, it's similar, but they pronounce it Swart. It's like slaughter. It's yeah, not quite the same. And lots of theme parks in Sweden as well. So another secret to the Scandi happiness, they just have theme parks everywhere. So this one's Grönalund. It's in the city centre of Stockholm. Again, unfortunately closed during the winter months because of the weather, but if you're back in the summer, it's out in full swing. And I think it's up in the record books for like the most densely packed amusement park. There's literally rides on top of each other. We'll see it when we get to Stockholm. Also, during the winter months, they have a little hotel called the Ice Hotel. Has anyone seen this before? Yeah, so this is in the northern territories of Sweden. It's basically mined out the local river, so they mine all the ice, like these huge blocks, and then construct an entire hotel out of ice, and it stays there for a few months, and you can book a room. And then, of course, after it starts getting warmer, it melts, and then they rebuild it again the following year. So every single year, this ice hotel has been built. These are what the rooms look like inside. Kind of crazy. Looks kind of creepy as well. I don't know if I want to stay in that room, but you're waking up with a gorilla in your face. Yeah, if you want to as well, they have an ice bar in Stockholm. It's like the original ice bar, and it's just a short walk from where we're staying. So if you want to get your kind of taste of an ice hotel, you can go to the ice bar in Stockholm. And then in Sweden, they have a saying here, which is the kind of unique of the Swedish saying, which is lagom. Okay, it means not too much, not too little, just right. This kind of saying goes for day-to-day activities and sort of Swedish people in general, not being too boastful or braggy or kind of showing off. It's just about right, just in the middle, and that's kind of a mantra for Swedish society. And then of course fika, which I've mentioned already, what we'll be doing this afternoon. Fika is a typical thing. It's regimented into everyone's day, at least twice a day, usually in the workplace. So you'll have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and it's just a coffee break with a cake or a bun of some kind, and it's just to kind of break up the workday, really, just give yourselves a nice little break. And yeah, that's why coffee and sort of tea and fika culture has been so big in Sweden. There was actually a king in the history who basically thought that coffee was like such a bad thing, because when it was introduced in Sweden, people were getting so addicted to it. He did an experiment on two twins. He gave one a load of tea, one a load of coffee, and made them drink it for like years on end. But ironically, the twins outlived the king, so it kind of proved that coffee wasn't really the issue here. So yeah, they've popular ever since. To quickly run through some Swedish food, a bit like Norway, they have their Taco Friday. They have a thing called Cozy Fridays, which is usually where they do Tex-Mex style food. So tacos here, very popular on a Friday. Of course, this smorgasbord originated in Sweden, and then it was popularised all across Europe, and now like over in America, I think they have those all-you-can-eat buffets that you can just go to. That's all kind of originated in Sweden, mixture of cold meats and cheeses and bread, etc. They do have some raw fish as well, herring, very popular here, or sill, and they do also do a fermented version called surströmming. Okay, I would not recommend anyone brings this on board the coach. If you do not open it. It absolutely freaks, and yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, I will say that. I've got a video actually I'll play for you at the end, which is just a bunch of Americans trying it for the first time, and it's very funny. And of course kottbullar, meatballs, and lingonberries, very unique to this corner of the world. They are popular like pretty much with everything. Just lingonberry jam you can have it with oatmeal, with meatballs, with pretty much anything. And then another Swedish thing to look out for, you'll probably be trying over the next couple of days. You might have seen it at the breakfast buffets. This stuff, the knäckebröd, which is basically like crusty bread. It's been a popular thing since the olden times, because obviously it's well preserved. It can last for a long time. And if you want to be brave again and try something different, you can try this kalles, which is basically like Swedish pate, but it's made with roe, so like fish eggs, basically. It's quite like sort of salty and strange, but give it a go. You might like it, but that's a very popular snack. You just have it with butter, kalles on top, and then you're good to go. And then of course some things to have with your fika. You might want some cardamom buns, cinnamon buns, and then this one, which is semla. It's just like a kind of fluffy bun with cream on top. You also have this unique stuff that's called perlsuker, which is like a pearl sugar, and it's basically it's got a higher like melting temperature, so it doesn't melt straight away onto the buns. It gives a nice little crispy taste. So yeah, it's a popular thing to go with your coffee. And then during the weekends in Sweden, they have a thing called Losgodis, which basically means weekend treats. Kids in Sweden, they don't tend to eat treats or sweets during the week. They just save that for the weekends. It's quite a nice thing to kind of look forward to after the school days are over. And they go with their parents to the local grocery store or supermarket, and they just go ham on the picnics. And the whole idea behind this was it was introduced after the war years, and it was basically a little bit of a health kick, just to try and work out if there'd be any health benefits to just having sweets on one day of the week. Yeah, it proved pretty good long term in terms of like, you know, kids' health, dental care, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's basically stayed the same ever since. A few things to look out for. Malibu is their like local chocolate here. You can try this one, Turkish Pebbles. They're like it's like licorice, and they're a bit spicy. I'm not a big fan of licorice, so I kind of avoid. But if you are a fan of that more bitter stuff and want to try those, go for it. Dime, has anyone had Dime? Yeah, it's quite popular, isn't it, worldwide? I think it's not just in Sweden. But yeah, it's kind of like a crunchy, caramelly sort of thing with chocolate. And then Skalle, these are like gummy sweets in the shape of skulls. Bilal, these are basically old cars, like marshmallow type treats, if you like. Polly is how would I describe Holly? It's kind of marshmallowy, soft butter toffee dipped in chocolate. Really, really nice. That's quite a popular one. Kex, that's their kind of like wafery chocolate bar. So yeah, a few things to look out for over the next couple of days. Maybe try some stuff if you want to do any authentic treat tasting in Sweden, or godis as we call them here. And then if you want to buy booze in Sweden, you have to go to one of these, Systembolaget, okay? So it's a bit like Norway. They have a licensed kind of government-owned liquor store, and it's a bit weird. So 18 to drink here in Sweden, but you have to be 20 to buy from the Systembolaget, because logic. So if anyone is under 20, sorry guys, you're going to have to do some buddying up today and get a friend to buy some alcohol for you at the Systembolaget when we go. But yeah, that's just the way it's been. So the government doesn't have a tax on anything above a certain percentage of alcohol. Aquavit is very popular here, so each Scandinavian country has their own version. Apparently the story goes someone brought potatoes to Sweden and someone went, what the hell's that for? And then the other person went, well, to make aquavit, of course. So aquavit's their sort of schnapps, if you like, water of life. Kronen, this is a Swedish punch. It's very sweet, very strong, very nice. Usually very popular around the Christmas time. They also do have a very popular Christmas soft drink. It's called Julmus, okay? And then it disappears off the shelves for a while, and then it reappears during the Easter time. It's Packmus, and it's exactly the same. It's just rebranded, and it's basically like a sort of herbally cola kind of soft drink, but very, very popular around the holiday times. If you want to try a local beer, Northern Schooled, that's their kind of the main sort of beer that you'll see probably all around the place. And then Record Lake, which I think is quite popular worldwide. Has anyone had Record Lake before? Yeah, Swedish cider. So yeah, a few little ideas of beverages in Sweden, and then some famous Swedes. Alrighty, I recognise a few of these guys. First of all, top left, PewDiePie, yes. Famous YouTuber, and then the Skarsgård. So you got Bill and Alex, beautiful family. Greta Thunberg, yeah, famous Greta, and then Rebecca Ferguson is another famous actress. Avicii, R.I.P. Has anyone watched the documentary on Netflix? Really good. If you haven't watched it, it makes you cry. Yeah, really, really cool. There's actually also an Avicii museum in Stockholm. I've not been to it. I might recce it tomorrow or whenever we go. But yeah, it's kind of similar to the ABBA. Sort of recreates his life growing up, his first studio, and you can kind of like mix music apparently as well. And then Stieg Larsson is a famous writer. His most famous work was the Million book series, so The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's another famous Swede. And then anyone recognise some of these? Pippi Longstocking, yeah, she has origins in Sweden. So you might, when you're walking around Stockholm, you'll see lots of little like blow up dolls, lol. You know what I mean? Toys, dolls of Pippi Longstockings. And then the Dada horse. This is famous to this region, so you'll see these over the next couple of days. It was basically like an old child's toy, and then during they had a, what was it, like a world exhibition, like a world fair, I think, over in the States during the, I think it was around the early 1900s, and they didn't know what to bring to represent each country for Sweden, and someone came up with the idea of just saying a Dada horse, because it was like a really common thing back then, and so ever since then it's kind of blown up as popularity, and it's sort of a symbol of Sweden, really, this little horse. So they're all hand painted, and they're all like hand carved out of wood, and yeah, so it's a nice little thing that you can do tomorrow, not tomorrow, yes, tomorrow night when we get back from skiing or swimming. Mo and Bjorn have like some little ones that you can paint and take it as a little physical souvenir home if you'd like to. And then Swedish chef Jim Henson. Okay, so Jim Henson apparently saw some Swedish guy on TV in America that had like a chaotic cooking show, and it was just a mess. And so from that like episode, he was inspired to make his character of the Swedish chef, even though he doesn't speak Swedish or doesn't sound like Swedish.
Borg.
Yeah, exactly. My boyfriend calls me Swedish chef because I literally like clap my teeth when I'm cooking at home. Anyways, next up, a few Swedish holidays. Has anyone seen Midsommar?
Yes.
Yeah. What a weird film. You'll be happy to know, guys, that it's not like reality. So if you come here during Midsommar, you're not going to get sucked into a cult or anything crazy like that. Midsommar basically celebrates the Midsummer solstice. It's the longest day of the year, and it's where they believe the portals between the sort of the living world and the sort of the fairy world are kind of at their shortest. So there's lots of traditions that they do. One of them is dancing around a maypole, and they all dress in like local folk sort of dress, and some of the girls put like flowers or petals under their pillows because then apparently they're supposed to dream of their future husband, so it's all very, very nice. And Mo will talk a bit more about Midsommar on the hike later on today, because there's a way about working out if you're a Midsommar baby, if you were conceived around Midsommar. It's usually when a lot of Swedes are making babies. And then at Christmas time, they have some interesting traditions. First of all, Santa in Swedish is this guy. He's called Tomte. So he's very small. He's like a little dwarf. And they have them in Denmark. We call them nisses. They're just like these little cute ornaments that you can just see their noses and their beards. But he's the one who brings the presents. And Christmas Eve is the big day here in Sweden. So not actual Christmas Day. Santa brings the presents on Christmas Eve, or Tomte, as they say here. And then on Christmas Day, they have a tradition about gathering around the TV to watch a certain Disney character wish them a happy Christmas, and this is Donald Duck. Okay, so I can't remember how this sort of came about. Basically, the Swedes have had an obsession with Donald Duck for a long time, and they prefer him over Mickey Mouse. Apparently, because he's more relatable. He's got his flaws in his character, unlike perfect Mickey. So the Swedes love Donald Duck. So yeah, every single year, a bit like the Brits gather around to watch the King's speech or the Queen's speech, the Swedes watch Donald Duck and their friends wish them all a happy Christmas, just part of the tradition. And Donald Duck is apparently so popular that they've had to change the law in the last couple of years because people have been voting for Donald Duck to like run the country. So they've had to change the law and say you can't vote for a fake person; it has to be a real human being. So yeah, that's a little weird tradition that they do at Christmas time. Just to finish up before we arrive at our little lunch stop, guys, here is a bunch of folks from the BuzzFeed crew trying pickled herring surströmming.